taken. But now, Madam Speaker, let me take this House through a little history on GMO and how it evolved. Madam Speaker, GMO began in 1982 when the Federal Drug and Administration approved the first GMO product that was developed through genetic engineering. Madam Speaker, this was used as a test to try and develop a DNA bacteria for the treatment of diabetes. Following this was in 1986 when FDA then again developed a coordinated framework for regulation of biotechnology. This policy described how US FDA and US EPA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Department of Agriculture would together regulate GMO. So the question is, even as we look back to where the US has come, a technology that is 1982, I believe I was in Form 1 then, this is very recent technology. You come to 1992, it is only as recent as this that the FDA in the US put in place a policy that food from GMO plants could meet the same standards and requirements as those of indigenous. It was a step-by-step thing in the US, which in itself right now has very strong consumer protection law that separates and delineates at the market. This is GMO, this is organic. Then you come now to 1992. And then in 1992, where these standards were now allowed, you find that in 1992, the first GMO food product that was allowed to be consumed in the name of Flava and Sava tomato in 1994. This is barely 28 years ago. So it is surprising that the CEO of a multinational company by the name of Bill Gates would come to this country and mislead the Kenyan citizens that he has been consuming GMO food for as long as he has been alive. Bill Gates, if my check was correct, Bill Gates was born in 1955. GMO, the first introduction of GMO tomato was in 1994. So I think even as we engage the people of this country on the question as to whether we can consume GMO, it is important that the facts are properly put on the table. And these are the facts on how to achieve the risk aspects of GMO itself. From the research that I have done, Madam Speaker, GMO poses the potential for increased cases of cancer, cases of infertility, danger to the environment, can pose danger to human and animal life and the ecosystem, and can drastically reduce or eliminate plant diversity. Once introduced, Madam Speaker, it is virtually impossible to stop the transfer where natural crops are grown due to the wind insect. There has also been the question of when you have a 2-acre farm where you want to plant indigenous seeds or hybrid seed or crossbreeds, and you have a neighbor who wants to do GMO. There is absolutely no non-scientific means by which you can be able to prevent the impact of what would happen through pollination, through insect transfer, through wind and other natural ways in which you can be able to prevent your indigenous plants and seeds from being affected by GMO. Madam Speaker, even as we adopt or are attempting to adopt GMO, it is important that this House knows that there are countries, the very same Western countries, that have run away from GMO. In Europe, Germany, France, Austria, Greece, Hungary, Netherlands, Lithuania, Luxembourg, etc. have rejected GMO. In the Americas, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, Venezuela have all rejected the question of GMO. In Africa, Algeria and Madagascar and many more. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I would like to plead with this House that before we allow anybody or any entity to undermine the authority of this House, we must remember that under Article 95, we represent the people and we solve the problems that affect the people. This is one such problem that the people of Kenya are looking into this House to solve, and I want to recommend as I close that a select committee of the Agriculture Committee and the Committee of Health be put in place to be able to sit together with their counterparts in the Senate and undertake thorough public participation to ask experts and stakeholders and the people of Kenya whether indeed they want to resolve or vote to GNO. In the meantime, the lifting of that ban should be ceased, and all the instruments, including the report of the 10-year ban task force, should be brought to this House through the Committee of Delegated Legislation. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Leader of Minority.
Madam Speaker, I will say just a few things. First, Madam Speaker, we all know that this country, through its cabinet, had placed a ban on the importation and dealing in all GMOs, all the way from 2012. Madam Speaker, it is surprising indeed that a purported cabinet meeting is said to have lifted the ban on GMOs. Yet we know that that so-called cabinet meeting couldn't have been a cabinet meeting. If you read Article 152, Sub-Article 1, the cabinet is defined as the president, the deputy president, and cabinet secretaries, including the AG. And if you go to 152, Sub-Article 2, the president is supposed to nominate cabinet secretaries and appoint them upon approval by this House. So the Constitution does not contemplate the president sitting with some members of an old cabinet and calling it a cabinet meeting. The Constitution does not envisage a situation where the president can sit with people whom he has not nominated nor appointed as cabinet secretaries. And therefore, if indeed it is true that that meeting, which I can call a baraza, ever lifted the ban on GMO, then it remains illegal. That is one. Two, Madam Speaker, there are reasons why GMOs were banned by the cabinet way back in 2012 by the Kibaki government. We haven't been told what has changed since then to warrant the unbanning of GMOs in this country. So we still expect that the president and his cabinet will come forward and explain to Kenyans what has informed this latest decision to allow the importation of GMOs into this country. Secondly, Madam Speaker, it is the matter of the importation of GMO maize, as pronounced by the Cabinet Secretary responsible for trade and industry. Madam Speaker, first and foremost, I believe we are creating an artificial shortage of maize. I strongly believe that we have got enough maize in this country, including maize which is currently being harvested by our own farmers in Rift Valley and other areas of this country. And even if it were true that there was some shortage of maize in this country to warrant importation of maize, why do you import GMO maize? Do we have a shortage of conventional maize in the market? Are we having a shortage of conventional maize in the world market to warrant us importing GMO maize for the first time in this country? And secondly, Madam Speaker, secondly, this importation of the 10 million bags or so of maize, when was it sanctioned? By who? And what is the procurement process within the meaning of Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act of 2015? What procedure has been followed in the importation or in the impending importation of these 10 million bags of maize, Madam Speaker? Could we be creating an artificial shortage, creating a crisis to enable racketeers to start benefiting from issues that actually are of great concern to the country? As Honorable Janet was saying a while ago, there are reports that already maize has docked in Mombasa. When was this maize imported? When was the procurement done? From who? At what cost, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, as we speak, farmers in Rift Valley are facing a serious threat of being left with their maize in their homes or in their farms. Because if you bring in this maize, Madam Speaker, and somebody is saying that farmers are hoarding maize, farmers are not mad. They are not crazy to hoard maize for nothing. Every other farmer would want to sell their produce to get money. Farmers have got no school fees. Farmers are having problems. No one in their right senses would hoard maize or any other commodity if they can sell it and get money. And therefore, the argument that farmers are hoarding maize is not true. Farmers in this country have suffered for too long. I thought that this government was going to come to their aid. But how wrong was I? How wrong was I?
Your time is up. Your time is up. Every other member is 5 minutes. Only the two co-movers had 10 minutes. Honorable Pio and I will add you 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I was just saying that I had hoped, given the rhetoric that brought this government into being or into office, that they would do the noblest of things and protect our farmers. But if in the first 60 days in office, the first targets, the first victims of this government are farmers, the first victims of this government, which came into power on the basis of hustler empowerment, is farmers. Farmers in Western Kenya, farmers in Rift Valley, farmers in Nyanza. Madam Speaker, how callous can the government be to subject farmers, hapless farmers, to this kind of misery, Madam Speaker? So members need to stand firm and defend our own farmers and call out the Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Industry. A cabinet is such an important institution that we cannot extend jokes and juvenile pranks, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Cabinet Secretaries swear to uphold the Constitution and protect the dignity of the offices that they hold. And therefore, I will fully support any effort or any initiative to rein in such Cabinet Secretaries that will subject this country to unnecessary ridicule. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right. This chance will go to the member for Kangema, Honorable Peter Kihungi.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. I start to oppose the motion. Madam Speaker, the issue of GMO has been used by civil societies and people who oppose it and oppose its use without facts. Madam Speaker, we have to start with our country. In 1984, I was a young boy when the country was at a high drought, and the country, we were supplied with yellow maize. Everybody was opposing yellow maize. But why do you allow our people to die? Just for the fact that you are proud that you don't want to eat yellow maize, and it's eaten all over the world. Madam Speaker, we want to say that the issue of GMO, it has been exaggerated. Nobody has fact. If you look to countries that are around GMO, like South Africa, the life expectancy of South Africa is higher than in Kenya. Therefore, you find people who are consuming GMO, their life expectancy is higher. Madam Speaker, everybody is consuming broilers. Broilers are the same as GMOs, in this KFC and Garitos. But Madam Speaker, nobody opposes them. Madam Speaker, we wish to oppose the motion. Let the country, let the president, let the minister just come up with a solution of how we lower the cost of unga, how we lower the cost of farm input, mostly the farm inputs for our daily, so that, Madam Speaker, we can be able to start working on this country. GMO is all over the world. The GMO has not been challenged directly. It's only rhetorical, which has no fact. And therefore, Madam Speaker, we start to oppose the motion, and we start with our minister and our president. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right. The next chance will go to the member for Kamukunji, Honorable Yusuf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I raised to support the motion on mainly two reasons. One is the fact that GMO, the technology used in GMO, is a controversial, significantly controversial technology, and many countries have banned or restricted the use of GMO. And even then, we have banned it for over 10 years, and there has never been a good reason to explain the rash decision by the president who was in office for some few, excuse me, Madam Speaker, can you protect me from...
Honorable Ivo Barra, please do not obstruct the speaker with the person who is on the floor.
And even if you look, the president was hardly in office, maybe for 6 weeks, when he called the so-called meeting of the cabinet ministers and unbanned the use of GMO. There was absolutely no review, no explanation given as to why 10 years ago it was bad and it should be banned, and now that decision has been reversed. There has been no public debate, no discussion, no engagement. And therefore, the use of GMO is something that is so important that it cannot be left to a president, to a cabinet of some few ministers, or any other person. It is something that concerns all of us, and we should be able to engage and debate, and also ask the difficult questions. Why do we unban it now? What is the reason for it? It sounds very fishy. It sounds smelly. It sounds stinking in some ways, because it appears as if there is an attempt to use the problem of drought in our country as a pretext to bring these particular crops into our country through the back door. The second problem related to GMO is the cross-fertilization, the cross-pollination seeds. And these seeds are controlled and produced by big biotechnical transnational companies that are abroad. And those seeds are going to be very expensive, first of all. The growers have no rights, and they're going to devastate the local crops, the traditional cultural crops that our peasants and our farmers can plant. And therefore, this would be quite a devastating importation. And finally, Madam Speaker, is the issue of importation of GMO maize. Even if there is a necessity to import, why don't we import non-GMO maize, which is all over the market? It is something that we can purchase and bring into the country. But even then, it is the timing. Why do we bring in this maize at a time when our farmers are harvesting and there is sufficient maize on the market? So the question is, who is benefiting from this? Who is driving this idea? What cartels are likely to cash on this one? And why would the government that is committed to helping to develop our farmers is now undermining the very farmers it has been supporting by bringing in cheap GMO maize into the market and destroying them, destroying their market, destroying their livelihood? Therefore,